Funny moments with one arm. So I'm going to start off today telling you a few funny things that's happened in my life with one arm. One time I was at Target and I was wearing my prosthetic arm when it was just fixed. And I had 6 rubber bands on it. The rubber bands is what causes the tension on the hook. So the more rubber bands, the tighter it'll grip. And they're little rubber bands, but they're thick, so they hold a lot of tension. Most people will only have 2 bands on their hook. I had 6, and I could open it. So I was in Target, and it was this lady and her son. And this lady, and I'm not talking bad about her. I mean, I'm really not. But she had a badonkey-donk the size of a freezer. And her little boy, she was pushing her buggy, and her old badonkey-donk was, it looked like she was carrying a suitcase back there. Anyways, and the little boy was walking behind her, looking at me like, staring at my hook. I opened and closed my hook a little bit. He was just his eyes. I reached down there and I popped that hook, and it, pow, because metal hitting metal. Almost sounded like a firecracker, you know what I mean? Or 2 hammers hitting together. Anyways, when that thing popped, she stopped to look at some clothes, and he was looking at me, and he took a quick step, and it looked like that woman was giving birth again. It was so funny. I think he got his head slapped for running in the back of her badonkey-donk, but I don't really remember. But that was hilarious. So one funny thing was when I was a foreman at a boat company, I had this guy to redo some work on a mole, and he was mad because he didn't want to redo it, and he walked off, and I could hear him, I kick that one-armed guy's butt. But it was another word. But he said, butt. And I said, what'd you say? I said, come here, what'd you say? He said, I said, I kick your butt. And I said, okay, you want to go outside? I said, because you got everything to lose and I have everything to gain. He's kind of looked at me stumped. I said, well, let's just put it this way. If we go outside and you whoop my butt, I said, what are you going to do? You going to go in here and tell everybody you whooped the one-armed guy's butt? I said, but what if we go outside and I whoop your butt? I said, then everybody here and in town's going to know that you got your butt whooped by a one-armed guy. And I said, I'm going to just tell you right now, I'm going to hit you 2 ways, hard and fast. I said, and it's going to look like 9 one-armed guys done whoop your butt. I said, so if you want to go outside, we can go outside. He's, no, I'm just going to go back and get my stuff done. So that tickles me because after he's thought about it, he's thinking, he probably could whoop my butt, but he might not either because I wasn't ever scared not to fight now. I've been in plenty of fights with one arm. Speaking of fighting, one time, and I don't condone this. This is just when I was young. I don't do this anymore. But I was at a bar, and I was with this pretty girl, and we were shooting pool. And this guy kept on smarting off and stuff. And I don't know if he's jealous because I had this good looking girl with me or not. I don't know what it was. But to clear things up, she wasn't as pretty as my wife is. So, he was just mouthing off. He's mad because I had a pretty girl and I was probably whooping his butt on the pool table too. So, we go outside. As soon as he goes outside and I walk outside, he hauls butt to his car. And when he starts running, I bow up. I start running after him. Well, he's crawling in the back seat, kicking at me, man. I thought he scared to death of me. I reached in there and I punched him a couple of times, and he kicking, trying to get away from me. And I slammed his car door like he's a wuss. I done hit him a couple of times. I turned around, there was like 13 cowboys behind me. They was going to tear his butt up. Here I am all puffed up, thought he was running from me, and he was running from the 13 guys that was behind me. Dang, that was embarrassing. Another funny time was, you go places and kids will look at you and just kind of stare at my arm. And I can just be honest with you. I'm an adult. I have one arm. If I see somebody with one arm, one leg, or something wrong with them, some kind of disability, I look at them and I stare. Because I'm wondering, I want to see their reactions. I want to see how they do stuff. I just want to see how they handle themselves. I can't help it. I'm like a deer in headlights. I do it myself, so it doesn't offend me. It doesn't bother me. Now, I'm not saying it did when I first lost my arm, but it doesn't now. So I was at a doctor's office, and I was sitting on one side of the room and chairs on the other wall on the other side, and this older woman just kept on staring at me. I mean, just staring at me. And I look around, look at my phone, and I'm looking around, and my eyes would hit her, and she was just like a deer in headlights, just like I would be. So after about 5 minutes, it was like she was in a trance, So I done the old nub shake on her. And I seen them eyes, I was acting like I was looking at her, but not looking at her, so she didn't really know but I shook that nub at her, and her eye, it woke her up. And she started, and I held a straight face, and it wasn't a couple minutes later they called me back, so I knew when I got up, she took another look. And when I started to walk off and I knew she was taking another look, so I shook it at her again. I thought I ain't gonna tell what she thought. Another time was, I was checking out, and this lady said, "Excuse me, do you mind that I ask you what happened to your arm?" I said, "Oh, no, ma'am. Well, I used to live in Florida, walking my dog down the slough, and alligator got my arm." "Oh, my God," she said. "That is terrible." I held a straight face, and I didn't even look at my wife. But I know what she's like. She's giving it away. So I said, she said, "That is awful. That is just terrible." I said, "Well," I said, what's really terrible is my little dog. And I don't even know what I named it that day. I don't even know what I called him. My little dog, Toby, an alligator grabbed it. And I jumped in to save my dog, and it got my dog in my arm. "Oh, Lord have mercy," she said. "Is that true?" And I held a straight face. "Yes, ma'am." She looked at my wife, and I already knew I was done. She said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "No, ma'am," because she knew, because when she looked at my wife then gave it away. Another funny time is I went to a parts house that we done a lot of business for. I was a manager of this fish farm, so we bought a lot of parts there. And I would go in and just get whatever I needed. And I went in to get me a pair of gloves. And I was joking. I didn't know I was going to do. I do a lot of stuff on instinct. So I go in there, and I'm looking at the gloves, work gloves, and I set a pair on the counter. And I said, "All I need is one." And they was like, "We don't have this one. You have to buy it." I said, "Well, I want them half price because all I'm going to use is one." "Oh, we can't do that." I said, "Are you kidding me? I have to buy 2 pair of gloves, and all I need is a left-handed glove." "Well, that's the way they come." And I picked them up and threw them on the counter. I said, "I'm not buying them." And I walked out. It was about 40 minutes later, I get a phone call. They said, "Jimmy, you ain't going to believe this. We found 3 different left-handed gloves up here. Come get them. We'll give them to you." I got to laughing, and they done tore some gloves apart and was going to give me all the left-handed gloves and just give them to me because they didn't want me mad and lose our business because we do a lot of business there. And I went ahead and bought a pair of gloves after I went back up there. I felt kind of bad for messing with them, but it was funny to me. I get a lot of laughs. Got millions of them. The last one I'm going to give you today is a very good one. To me, it was hilarious. So I had to go to the dentist, and when they let me out, there was a door that I had to come out. Well, when I went back there, it was like one or two people sitting in the waiting room. And I went back there, and when I come out, I had to open the door and shut it behind me. Well, when I opened the door, it was a whole lobby full of people. And they all looked up at me. I shut the door. I said, don't go back there for teeth work. I said, I was supposed to have a tooth pulled. And they all just started grinning and laughing, but they went back to what they was doing. And I walked out. But that was hilarious. My wife was like, I can't believe you done that. And I don't know why, because I always do stuff like that. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, and I'll bring you some more videos. Till next time.